welcome to your English class. This is your teacher, Miss Maite. Now, before we start with anything, I just want to make sure that you guys are keeping safe at home, you're practicing social distancing, wearing your masks as often as possible, and you're sanitizing or washing your hands. Remember, for 20 seconds each and every time, maybe after every 10 minutes, wash your hands, just to keep safe and to keep the virus away. Now, in our last lesson, we were reading a poem, right? And we went through different poetry elements that we came across, like metaphors, similes, alliteration, and so forth. So in today's lesson, we will be focusing more on what? Writing. Writing. I know it's so complex and scary. When the teacher says to you, you should write something, you start panicking and thinking, oh my God, what can I do? But it's very simple. I'm going to take you through the process. Just relax and listen attentively. Now, writing, what is it? What does it entail? Firstly, you have to think about this very carefully. What is your experience like with writing? What writings have you read? What writings have you done? Do you have a favorite writer? Note those things down. For example, my favorite writer is Belinda Lee. She's the lady responsible for writing the book Larger Than Life. You should check it out. It's really cool. Now, once you've done that, written all your favorite books that have been written by your favorite writers or your experience with writing, you have a better clue of what writing is, what writing entails, and how do you go through the process of writing. But just to be on the safe side, today we'll be doing poetry writing. This is different from any kind of writing that you've done before. Be it a story, be it a letter, or be it an email sometimes. This kind of writing needs you to take caution of a few things. Number one, you need your 5 steps of writing a poem. Those 5 steps will help you in creating a poem that is good and intriguing for readers to read. And as a poet, when you recite it, you will be able to fascinate and grab the attention of the audience. These 5 steps are very easy and very simple. I am going to explain them to you just right now. Number 1, we have step 1, inspiration. You need to have an inspiration. You need to be inspired. What is the poem going to be about? What inspired you to write the poem? This can be easy. Maybe one day you went out shopping and you saw this little cute puppy. You write about the puppy. That is your inspiration. Or you're thinking about your vacation with your family in Devon that you had last December. You can write about that. What your experience was on the beach. Or you can simply talk about how you're feeling inside, your emotions. Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you disappointed? You can also write about that. That is inspiration. That's where you draw inspiration. Inspiration, you can draw it from real life things that have happened, things that are about to happen. That is an inspiration as well. Right. The second step is brainstorming. This one is very important. Brainstorm, brainstorm, brainstorm. A good writer always brainstorms. You cannot just start by writing. You need to brainstorm. What is it? What is brainstorming? Brainstorming is taking all these ideas that you have, putting them down in a paper, organizing them so that when you write, you can go back to that list or that mind map that you made, and then you get those ideas, you put them in order, and then you start writing. Brainstorming keeps you organized. As a writer, you need to have a brainstorming session or to have a summary of what you're going to do. How do you brainstorm? You can use mind maps, you can use flowcharts, or you can use a list. You need to have your points in order. You cannot start with the conclusion and end with the introduction, or start with the body and end with the introduction. The introduction is to be first, then your body, and then your conclusion. Well, in this case, because we are doing poems, with poems, you need to have your title of the poem, the beginning of your poem in stanzas. This is what we are going to talk about in a few minutes. Stanzas. Keep that word in your mind. Stanzas. We will get back to that. Step 2, it's brainstorming. You need to brainstorm. Bring all these ideas together, put them down in paper. All good writers have brainstormed every single thing they've ever written. Now, step 3, we are going to the form and style. How do you want your poem to be like? Is your poem formal? Is it informal? But remember, if it's informal, do not be rude. Do not be rude. Use appropriate language. Remember that this is a school project and you need to be respectful all the time. Your form and style can refer to all the elements that we are going to talk about, poetry elements, your metaphors, your alliterations, your similes. Those are the forms and the styles that you are going to incorporate in your poem. Now, step 4, word choice. This is very important. All good poets use different catchy words to grab the attention of the readers. You need to be smart with your words. There are so many different ways you can describe one thing, but you need to play around with your words so that the poem is exciting and fun for your readers. And then number 5, lastly, we have your 5 senses. I know, what are those? You could be thinking, right? Now, with your 5 senses, we are referring to your taste, your smell, your hearing, your touch, and you sing. You can use those senses to incorporate them in your poem. Is your poem about feelings? Is your poem about seeing something? Or is your poem about hearing something or touching something? Use those senses. For example, you could be on a beach and you're relaxing and all you can see are those palm trees and the sand and the beautiful waters. Seeing that feeling that you get, those are your senses. Hearing the waves, those are your senses. You could incorporate that in your poem. Very important. Now that you've done the 5 steps of writing, you can move on to poetry elements like we did in the last lesson. But just as a recap, you need to remember that a good poem has to have a theme. What is the poem about? What is the whole story about? The theme. What is the theme? Is it happy? Is it exciting? Are you disappointed? Are you sad? What's happening? Is it a war? What is happening there? That is your theme. Those are examples of themes. And then you have the mood. What is the feeling of the poem? Is the poet sad? Is the poet excited? Is the poet sorry or disappointed? What is the poet feeling? The mood is very important because it also attracts the readers. A reader can be feeling sad and read a sad poem, or a reader can be sad and want to read a happy poem so that their mood can get better. And then we have your stanza. Your stanzas are very important. Remember, stanzas are a group of lines that you find in a poem. So maybe 4 to 5 lines in a poem, that's a stanza. And then another stanza and another stanza. And then we have rhyme. Rhyming words. Remember to use rhyming words to give your poem a much beautiful effect. Your rhyming words could be bat, set, flat, or ball, fall, tall, or face, race, place. Play around with the words. Make sure they make sense. Make sure the first line is making sense with the second line, but they have rhyming words so that your poem can be fun and exciting for your readers. And lastly, last but not least, you have your rhythm, the beat of the poem. How do you recite the poem? The fastness, the slowness of how you say the poem, it's very important. It gives effect to your poem. And lastly, you have the lines. The lines are very simple. Each and every line that you write in a poem, that's your line. And that is how you write a good poem. Remember to always sanitize your hand, put on your mask, practice social distancing, and keep safe. I will see you next time on another lesson. Remember to leave your comments in the comment section and do your work properly. See you next time, learners. Bye.